All right, welcome everybody to the Property Management Law Solutions podcast. Thank you for joining us today. I am your host, Attorney Tim Baldwin, and today's show is going to be great because we have a couple of great people with us. We have Matt and Jacqui Luberto. Hi, Matt and Jacqui.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, thanks for joining me today. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to do this podcast with me. This is going to be an opportunity for really people to learn from you guys. Matt and Jacqui are real estate professionals, real estate brokers in the state of Florida, and particularly in, I believe, just the Panhandle, right? That's where you guys focus?
And Alabama.
In Alabama. Okay, I actually didn't know that. That's good to know. So Matt and Jacqui own both a real estate sales company and a real estate property management company. Is there anything else that you guys also do that I don't know about, or is that it?
No, we also do insurance in the
Oh
state of
gosh.
Florida.
Wow. Well, you're going to be a wealth of information then today. This is going to be awesome. So Matt and Jacqui, now you're located in you have a few offices, right? You have Destin. Where are your other locations you have?
We've got offices in Panama City Beach, on 30A in Seagrove. We've got Crestview and Navarre.
Wow. Okay, great. Yeah, and you guys have a very robust and growing company. I know that. Let's kind of jump into it for the folks here today. I try to keep my podcast at about 30 minutes, and so I'm going to try to respect that. I always do pretty well at keeping it there. But just introduce yourselves a little bit for the audience so they can get to know you a little bit better. We can dive into some good discussions.
Well, I'll start. I'm a Florida native, was born and raised in Pensacola. Married a military guy, did some traveling, came back when he retired. Got my real estate license in 2016 and was a single sales agent for 3.5 years. During that time, he started working with me because I was getting very overwhelmed. Found ourselves very blessed with a lot of business very quickly. After 3.5 years of doing that, we decided to open Realty One Group, and that's been 5 years. As you said, we now have 5 locations, 3 businesses under the umbrella, to name a few. There's a couple that are not as specifically related as those 3. We have about 180 agents under those 2 companies. And we service on the rental side 360 doors. And yeah, we do about 1,000 real estate transactions per year on the sales side.
Wow, that's tremendous growth. What's the number of years again? So when did you start your own brokerage, and how long have you been in it?
We started the brokerage in 2020, actually on St. Patrick's Day, which was the day that Governor Ron DeSantis shut the state down. So
Wow.
it's a very uncomfortable day of trying to open a business while shutting down a business.
Yeah, we all probably have a pretty good memory about what happened during that time. It was a struggle for a lot of people. So the fact that you guys were able to start during that, volatile time, I guess you might say, and the fact that you've grown to where you are today in such a short period of time is a testament to just how tenacious and committed and dedicated you are to doing good business, and obviously performing well, because you can't grow like that unless people are confident in your services. So that's awesome. So Matt, give an introduction to yourself too for the audience.
So I was a military brat, grew up in Pensacola, and decided I joined the military until we met. Got out, was a police officer in Pensacola for a few years, then went back in the military until I retired. And again, the real estate side, I had a nice, comfortable job, 9 to 5 every day until she got busy enough and had to come help. So it was the best decision we've ever made, and nothing to look back on badly. It's been quite the experience. And like she said, opened the sales brokerage in 2020. Property management brokerage came along, and it's a separate company. We wanted to keep those two things separate, and that started in 2021 until today. And
Yeah.
So you guys kind of remind me of myself, and that, you know, my wife has been with me in my business since the beginning, and which was even before we were married, that she started working with me. And I know that personally for me, there's a lot I could not do without her. So it sounds like you guys have a similar team, you know, relationship, which is great. It really, I think, you know, I hear stories from, you know, friends of mine like, oh, I can never work with my spouse. You know, you kind
We
of
hear
get
it all
that.
the time.
I'm like, man, I guess I'm just extremely blessed and lucky because I work really well with my wife. We do great together. So if you can have that team, you know, you're all in it together. It's a team effort. So that's great. Well, I know that we talked a little bit before the show that, you know, the topic that was of interest to you was discussing how important it is to really bring into your business professionals that add that knowledge, experience, and value to what you guys do, so that you can enhance the quality of service and just the scope of your service too. So we're going to delve into that topic. So as you know, you really know very well, a lot of what we learn in business is by experience. And so, you know, help us just understand, like when you started, and obviously, you know me, I'm in the property management world. That's my expertise. So I like to maybe kind of hone in on that part of your business, but we don't have to necessarily keep it there. But looking at your property management business when you first started, and, you know, as a summary of where you are now, talk a little bit about how important it became to you to bring in professionals to help you and grow and provide those services.
so, you know, we knew we needed to do it, and that's from our experience on the sales side, of finding quality vendors. But that's pretty rare. When we opened the property management company, we found out really fast that having, let's say, just even the wrong handyman or a repair vendor can cause enormous trouble for us, you know, both in liability, expense. We're trying, you know, we're trying to take care of the owner's property. We're trying to make the tenants happy. And having the wrong person can just create all sorts of issues. And so our focus from the very beginning was to align with people who shared the same, you know, even just overall values of providing quality service.
Mhm.
I need you to show up when you say you're going to be, you know, going to be there. I need you to do the work that you know, we're paying for, and vice versa. That also falls onto us, making sure we're doing the work to take care of, you know, making sure the vendors get paid, making sure the owners get paid, making sure that the tenants are able to use and enjoy the properties that they're paying for as well. And so, you know, besides vendors, it's also having the right team in place, from employees to, you know, to
Attorney.
the right attorney.
Of course.
We found out very, you know, fairly quickly that we had to have that right team, and we're still always honing in on that. There's certain vendors that can handle the quantity of work that we're providing, and there's certain ones that can't.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean the ones that can't handle it aren't great vendors. We just need to know what jobs they're right for,
Yeah.
and vice versa. So, knowing your people, knowing your even, you know, the platforms that you're using, for us has just been instrumental.
And it buys you so much goodwill and grace with those people when you work with them on alignment of values first.
Mm.
When you are, I hate to say friends, but colleagues, so much more than just a vendor that I just email and expect things from. We know our people that we work with. We actually have a litigation attorney for the real estate sales side in South Florida. I had done a ton of research on him, and I knew that I really liked all of the things that I saw online, but again, hadn't looked at him in the face. I didn't know him very well. So I asked for a Zoom call, and we were on that Zoom call for maybe 5 minutes. And he was like, is that it? Is that all? And I'm like, yep, I can tell that you and I are going to get along. And that's the thing. If we can get along as colleagues, then we'll be able to overcome any of those issues.
Yeah. Well, what you're speaking to is, I think, what may be missing in a lot of the world today, really in general, and that is a personal relationship, personal connection, which we need. I mean, just from a very basic human level, but to be able to know that, I can relate to this person, they have the same values, we get along, they're looking out for my interest, so that relationship is so important. Let me ask you this: in your experience, how difficult has it been, or what have been some of the hurdles you've encountered with really developing that network of trusted vendors, and what are some of the lessons you've learned along the way that can help others understand just the importance of that process?
I'll say one of the challenges, and this is something we were talking about yesterday, and I don't think we yet have a solution, but we have when a staff member and a vendor don't share that alignment, right? We have a personal relationship with our staff, we have a personal relationship with our vendor, but the vendor and the staff don't always see eye to eye when work needs to get done. And we know that the root cause is always good communication.
Yeah.
Pick up the phone, stop sending texts and emails,
Mhm.
and say, hey, ma'am, what's going on? Why are we having this disconnect? So that's, I think that's the only real solution that we've come up with so far, is trying to get people to the table to have good conversation so that we can keep the staff member and keep the vendor and keep everybody happy and our homeowners and tenants moving forward.
Yeah. Well, I know that Matt and I speak on a fairly consistent basis. There's a lot to be said with just verbal communication, because yes, I mean, emails are great for efficiency and other purposes, but when you get down to it, it's like there's some things that if you would just pick up the phone, you can resolve whatever the question or issue may be in a matter of minutes. And clear communication, get to the point. Here's the direction we're going to go, and smooth sailing from there. So I mean, that is so important. Matt, again, Matt, you and I, we talk a lot. So what, from your side of things, how does that go? How does that communication go?
And I was thinking about that like communication can probably, early clear communication can usually clear up probably 90% of issues. Doesn't mean that everybody's going to agree. It's just that it's set that expectation of what is the core problem, how can we address it. You don't have to like the solution, but that's the only way we can go.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that we sometimes people are just so afraid to pick up the phone. And just pick up the phone and call them, and then most of the time I get the feedback, oh, they were great. I said, I know. They just want to have a conversation.
Yep.
They want you to hear them, and they want to hear you. And it's better than email. Email and text can be so direct and lack of emotion and lack of empathy. And so you just got to pick up the phone and talk to people.
Well, and then you follow the conversation up with, hey, this is what we said, to be, you can lay out an email, to
Right.
confirm a conversation, and which is good practice. But yeah, no, that's so important. I know, Jacqui, you look like you wanted to chime in there again.
Yeah, I wanted to add, and we talk about this more on the sales side than we do on the property management side, but it goes across all industries. When someone is acting out of character, like, why are you yelling at me about a thermostat? The thing is not the thing, right? You have to figure out what is the root cause of this ridiculously large reaction to something that's an inanimate object and just needs to get done. There's always something more going on, and people forget that the other side of that is just another person who's might be having a really bad day. So you can be the bright spot and take a moment to say, what's really going on here? Because this doesn't seem right. Is that okay?
No, that's such a good nugget of wisdom there. Let's talk a little bit here about owners. So property owners. As you know, many property owners they try to manage properties themselves, or they do manage properties themselves. For better or for worse, depending, I guess, on your perspective. But one of the things that I see just from where I sit is that property managers can be an excellent resource for property owners. For several reasons. One is just that this is what you guys do every day. You're professionals. This is your livelihood. The quality of service is very important, should be very important, to property managers to deliver that. But also just the fact that since you do this every day and you do have all these relationships with the necessary, peoples, what do you think, what do you see as maybe a misconception, or maybe just something that property owners don't necessarily appreciate when it comes to hiring professionals like yourselves, and why you think that property owners like that could probably benefit from services from people like you?
I'll start with saying that initial interaction with an owner who's looking for property management services, that initial interaction, if that's set up properly, where the expectations are laid out, the management agreement says what we're going to do, what they're going to do, what they're responsible for, etc. So even though it says that, even though they signed it, they still have an expectation in their mind sometimes that is contradictory to the management agreement and to what we provide. So as long as we, again, through experience of saying, we keep running into this problem with the owner's expectations. Well, we didn't do that right. We didn't set that expectation out right in the beginning. And so if we say that and they have an issue at that time, then we can explain why we do it this way, why it brings value to them. And then if we're not the good fit as a company, then we don't have to take that property on. They don't have to go with us.
Right.
But most of the time it's because they don't, either if they've had experience with a property manager before, they didn't get the level of service and they had to do a lot of work on their own, making a lot of decisions on their own, even though they had a property management company. We're trying to alleviate that. We're trying to take care of their property. We're trying to make sure our goal should be to make sure the property is improved over time, not just minimize damage.
Yeah.
So, and we need to be a partner in that, to everything from helping them identify, hey, can we set up this preventative maintenance over time, in the long term, to prevent those large bills further down the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So trying to highlight those things, that we're a partner in this. This is what we do, and highlighting things maybe they haven't thought about.
Jacqui, what do you think are some of the misconceptions that property owners have about property management companies? Whether that's what you should be doing, or maybe they don't realize just how much you do for them.
And I think it's very much the realization that they don't understand all the things that we're doing and all of the moving parts, all of the conversations, all of the accounting on the backside, many, many calls and emails and texts per issue that arises on the home, the coordination with the tenants. You can do your own taxes. You don't have to hire a professional. You can change your own oil. You don't have to hire a professional. And you can manage your own home. We are here to make it easier to manage that asset, to have it appreciate, not depreciate, and to make sure that when you want to take back ownership or move back into that home, it's better than you left it.
Yeah.
We want you to really see us as partners in the management of your home.
Yeah. Well, and one thing, because since you guys do sales, and this is something I'm sure that you experience, in that when you have a true investor, I mean, you know, they buy a rental property, their goal is to improve the value of the asset itself from an income standpoint, and so that one day they can sell off that investment for profit. And so many times when you're in that transaction of a sale, the buyer is and the lender too are expecting to see performance,
Right.
and also many of the other records that go with the property itself. So speak a little bit to, you know, how a professional property management company can actually improve the sale value of that property at some time later.
It's actually a project we're working on now, and I bet you didn't even know we were doing this.
No, I did not.
We are looking at the property from, I mean, obviously we've got 350 to 60 doors to catch up on, but we're doing an intake on large management or large system management. How long can that owner expect the roof to continue to be good? How long for the HVAC, water heater? Flooring, we go through every single item in that home and give the owner an expectation of life for each item so that they can begin budgeting and planning ahead and not be caught off guard in 3 years when they have to replace the entire HVAC.
Yep.
It's not going to be a surprise. We're going to be helping them plan and budget as they go through the ownership of their property. So really, we don't do project management, but looking at their home as a project in itself and really taking that, again, very holistic approach to being their partner in managing that property.
And that's not something that everybody does. You know, most property management companies, well, I say in my experience, and not that I've seen every single property management company, but that's a unique service. But I think that's one that certainly adds value to the owner, because as you know, many owners don't quite understand how much is required to maintain the properties and that the cost of doing business, you know. But above that is you have, when you know what to expect with the useful life of whatever it might be, certainly the big items like HVAC is a big deal, you know, but when it comes time to actually replace those things and you're prepared for it, you not only are, you know, keeping the property in the shape that it should be to be marketable and habitable, but you're improving that relationship with the tenant. Because, you know, as you know, one of the biggest headaches that you guys encounter is tenants who are not happy because maybe there's something that hasn't gone right. But then you have an owner who says, well, let's see how long, or what's the cheapest fix we can use just to make them, you know, put a Band-Aid over this situation. And that doesn't make the tenant happy. Inevitably, there's going to be more problems. You got to send out more vendors, more maintenance, and it just compiles upon itself. So that's excellent. And that goes back to, I think, what we're kind of talking about at the core is having the resources to be able to fix problems when they occur, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, we've got a little bit of experience, you know, just from obviously single family residential homes all the way to multi-unit or multi-family units. And we've taken over some properties that needed a little bit of that TLC to make it to where you're attracting you can charge, you know, the rents can be charged appropriately because now you've made the improvements and it's comparable. So you're increasing revenue, and over time, you know, we had one that we actually the owner actually we had it for just over a year, multi-unit out in Panama City Beach or Panama City, and the owner sold it. And it was able to do so. When we took it over, they were at, I think, 30% occupancy. When he sold it, we maintained about an 80% occupancy over the time that we managed it. So there was that revenue history for the investor that wanted to purchase the property. So
and lots of improvement on that property too.
Everything from you know, getting utilities separated, individual meters for each unit, all that kind of stuff. So it was good.
Right. Yep. No, that's the, I mean, that again, especially when you have an owner that they may own property, but that doesn't necessarily mean they know how to manage property and how to improve value of the property, and looking ahead in time to say, what am I going to be able to sell this property for if I show, certain level of performance on this property to another investor. So all of that part of it is so important to landlords, who are investors. What are some other, what I say, just kind of large lessons that you guys have learned and continuing to learn?
Don't take things personally. People are going to get upset. Vendors are going to get upset. Tenants are going to get upset. Owners are going to get upset. If we get upset with them, then that's where things break down.
Yeah.
I think what the majority of what we do is problem solving. Collecting rent, running ads to place a tenant, paying the owner, calling a vendor. Those are all just easy. Those are relatively easy things to do.
Yep.
It's the problem solving. And so I think, again, tying it back into what we're talking about is you got to have the right team. You've got to maintain the relationships to help you solve those problems.
Yeah.
And
good, Jacqui.
take it to the next step with that and be a very good critical thinker as well with documents and your lease and your management agreement and your addendums, and really try to look at that document from all sides. Where are the loopholes? Where are the gaps? Where are the questions that you need to be asking? I always say I can go dark real fast. So can this bite me? Where's the hole in this? And I know you didn't want me to say anything very specific, but we started with a different attorney and we continued to have problem after problem with our agreements, with holes in processes that we were doing. And I got really very frustrated one day and called you and I was like, I need help. I need professional help with all of this on the property management side. And you're just down the road. Can you please? You have been so wonderful to work with.
Wow.
You're so responsive, and anybody who does property management should be talking to you.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I do give a little plug at the end, for those who are make it all the way through the end of the podcast, like, they finally get to hear a little spiel about, hey, call us, contact us. But no, I appreciate that. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, again, when you go to values and what are your core principles? I mean, for me, it's always been my core principle is to make sure that I'm servicing my client the best that I can, and to have that personal connection with them, because you guys are trusting a lot of, important decisions on advice that, I give, like in your case, but, anybody, a tax consultant or whatever. And so, developing that trust, first of all, it's so important. But also you've got to prove it too, right? You've got to, show your client, your customer, that you know what you're talking about. And whether, yes, like Matt said, sometimes it's like, wow, I don't like what I just heard, but when you trust the advice you're given and there's a pathway to resolving the problem or the issue, that's where that relationship just continues to grow and improve over time. So no, you guys have been great. I love it when I love my clients, and you guys are one of those clients that I love to do work for. So it's really good. Hey, we're coming close to like a 30-minute mark on the podcast. Is there sort of some last thoughts that you'd like to share? I guess, Matt, you kind of shared with the don't take it personal. That's a really good one. Jacqui, do you have any little words of wisdom as well that you'd like to leave the listeners?
I actually told Matt right before we went on, I wanted to get this in. Don't tie your ego into hiring. Tie your ego to firing. We are all terrible at hiring. This is Gary V 101. We're all terrible at it. And I'm not even talking about property managers and staff. I'm talking about vendors that you work with that service your company. If they are not serving you and they are not in alignment, let them go and move on and find someone to be ready to take care of your customers the way that you do.
Wow. You just described hiring is probably one of the most difficult things. It's hard to do that. Because as we all know, business owners, people who interview are putting their best foot forward.
Yep.
Their resumes look great, most of the time they look pretty good. But you don't ever know, what is this person really going to do? Is their heart going to be in the company or and I hate to say it, but some people really just they're selfish about it, in that they think that everything should just revolve around, them personally. And that's just not reality. I mean, the company needs to thrive so it can take care of its employees, it can take care of its customers. But you're right. So when you see the need to fire, that's the point when you should do it with decisiveness.
Yes.
Very good, very good. Well, I'm gonna kind of wrap it up here. Matt and Jacqui, thanks so much for joining me today. You guys are great. If you don't know who Matt and Jacqui are already, they are with One Family Real Estate Services. Did I say it right? One Family
Property Services.
Oh, I'm sorry. One Family Property Services. They're in the Panhandle, also in Alabama, which I learned today. So you can contact. What's your website?
Onefamilypropertyservices.com.
Okay.
And we don't do property management in Alabama, just sales. Sorry.
Just sales in Alabama.
I get
Gotcha.
you in trouble.
Well, here's a little disclaimer. None of this is like legal advice, and none of this is like services. Obviously, that we're trying to give information to the listeners, to help educate them and also just expose them to what's out there. So thanks for doing that for us. And I'm Tim Baldwin. I am the attorney with Property Management Law Solutions. We are a landlord law firm in the state of Florida. If you guys are a property management company or landlord, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you. And thanks everybody for listening. And we'll see you on the next show. Have a good day.